Guys, it's Alex from the Fabled Academy. Today we will take a look at what I've learned so far by playing Arthurian Legends Sealed. I really like Sorcery TCG and I have a lot of question marks when playing the game actually. I am very new to the game, so I don't know everything about it and I still make mistakes, but I learned a few things that I want to share with you and make your life a little bit easier when diving into Sorcery TCG and Arthurian Legends in particular. So let's switch to the top view and get started. This is our realm for the video. I will explain to you the basics that I've learned, so talking about locations, sites and the realm, but also about how you move around and where you can intercept, and also talk a little bit about attacking and defending or blocking. So let's start with the battlefield. That was actually pretty new to me. I think this is very special in Sorcery because yeah, I didn't really see this in any other TCG, to be honest. So let's talk about the realm first. What is the realm actually? Because we have cards like Peasant Revolt that are specifically saying destroy everything unique and elite in the realm. So what is actually the realm? And the realm is actually everything that you can see here on the board. So when you're playing out Peasant Revolt, everything in the realm, so every card that is played, either elite or unique, gets destroyed. So that is the first thing that we need to know. And then there are other locations that we need to know. Of course, when getting into Sorcery, you will see a lot of these sites, which will give you threshold and mana. But what is actually a site? A site is just a site here in a square in the realm. That is a site. So pretty basic, but it is very important to know where a site is, because there are also cards like the 9th Legion that have Void Walk. And actually the Void are squares where no site is played. So in this example, everything here is the Void, and also these 3 squares here are the Void. And only cards that specifically say Void Walk can walk in the void. None of these other characters or the minions that we see here can go to the void, and also not our avatars. And then also something very interesting that I've learned by playing Arthurian Legends is that there are different locations on a site or beneath a site. And I think a very good card to explain this is Hamlet's Ablaze, because Hamlet's Ablaze specifically says conjure atop an ordinary or exceptional site. So you would play Hamlet's Ablaze, for example, maybe not on this one. I would play Hamlet's Ablaze here or atop on that site. And then at the start of my turn, I would destroy that site and every minion atop it. So every minion, maybe on this side, then the Red Breezed Robin on the next turn would die. But if you would have, for example, a card like this, the Master Stormworm, which can be submerged. So submerging is basically not playing the minion on top, but beneath the side. And so if I would play Hamlet's Ablaze here, only the Red Breezed Robin would be destroyed and not the Master Worm, because Hamlet's Ablaze specifically says only minions atop it would be destroyed. All right, so far so good. Another example is actually the Red Breezed Robin that I just mentioned, because Red Breezed Robin actually said at the end of your turn, each other unit here takes 1 damage. And with that, a specifically wording saying here, actually, it only says where the Red Breezed Robin is. So if you would have a Master Stormworm here beneath it, the Red Breezed Robin would only deal 1 damage to every other unit where the Red Breezed Robin is, but not beneath it, not to the Master Worm. And then another example is the Knighthood. And I thought this is kind of interesting too, because Knighthood specifically says that you can summon to their location. So if you control an ordinary mortal, or you may summon a knight, sir or dame from your hand to that location. So we have a mortal, the Sherwood Huntress here, and if I would play the Knighthood, I could only yeah, summon the knight, sir or dame where the Sherwood Huntress is. I couldn't summon it beneath it. So that is referring to the location. And then also something that I found very interesting is Bailey, because Bailey specifically says units or enemies can't move to here on the ground. And that is specifically what this is. You are either on the ground, you are submerged, or you are borrowed, or you are airborne. So even if I play Bailey here, of course the Harass and Raffians, they can't go to the Bailey location now. But if I would have the Red-Breast Robin here, the Red-Breast Robin can just fly over. Or if we would have a unit like this, the Dirium Fomorians. This card specifically says borrowing. So as a tap action, it can borrow itself, or you can just summon it borrowed. So the Dirium, the giants, could just move borrowed here, but they can't move atop to the Bailey location. All right, so far so good. Let's talk a little bit more about moving, because I think moving is one of the most crucial parts in Sorcery TCG. We talked about locations, sites, and the realm, also the void. That is very important to know before moving, because actually we have the cards that can move adjacent and the cards that can move nearby. And let's start with the simple example. Normal minions like this, the Sherwood Huntress, they can move adjacent. To adjacent means actually that the Sherwood Huntress here can only move to this side or to this side. The Sherwood Huntress can't go to the void because it does not have void walk, and it also can't go nearby, so it can't go where the Spellslinger is. It would have to go here, and then the next round it would need to go here. But there are other minions that can go nearby, like the Red-Breast Robin. The Red-Breast Robin says it is airborne, so this is actually not on the ground, but it is flying. And that means that the Red-Breast Robin can go to adjacent squares or sides, but it can also go to nearby. And that is a pretty good thing to have in Sorcery, especially when you want to block. That is something we come to a little bit later. Let's keep on talking about the movement, because there are some cards that can move much further than others. Like the example here, the Fine Cursor. This one has movement +1. So usually a minion can only move one to one side, one forward. But the Fine Cursor actually has +1, so he's able to move 2. He can not only move here, but he could also move here, or he could move this way and then here. And he can also carry an ally, so he could also just take Sir Yvain in this example with him, even though Sir Yvain on his own would only be moving one step. And then there are cards like Sir Peleus, and I thought this one is a little bit confusing to me, because it says also it can submerge. So just like the Master Storeroom, I could just submerge it, or I could even summon it submerged. And then it says in the second part, moves freely between water sites. And that actually means that in the body of water is actually just everything that is water and that is connected adjacent to each other. It can just move freely. So it not only can move one step, but Sir Peleus can actually move all the way up here. If, in our example, everything that is here is water. So he could just, submerge itself in the beginning when he summoned, and then he could all the way move submerged to here, and then in the next round move upwards. So that is something pretty awesome. So talking about movement, there are also magic cards, so spells in Sorcery that lets you move your minions, just like this card, Tactical Move. And as we know, when we want to move a minion or an ally Also our Spellslinger here, for example, if we want to move the Spellslinger, we actually need to tap him. So if I want to move to this location with the Spellslinger, I just tap him. And then if I want to go even further with my Spellslinger without tapping him, I could use a card like Tactical Move that says one at a time, so one after each other, each ally takes up to 2 steps. So even though our Spellslinger is tapped, I could move him 2 forward with Tactical Move. And then there's also, talking about Airborne, there is a card called Power of Flight, and that specifically gives an allied minion airborne until your next turn. So even though our Sherwood Huntress isn't airborne, I could just cast Power of Flight for our Sherwood Huntress, and then until the next turn, Sherwood Huntress would have airborne, so she could move to the Spellslinger in that case. Whoopala. And also 2 other cards that are interacting with movement that are in Arthurian Legends is a card, for example, called Joust. An ally targets an enemy they are adjacent to. Then they both take a step to swap places. If they pass each other, they fight. So that is referring to the 2 things we already talked about. At first, the location, and at second, the adjacent movement. So let's just assume we are casting Joust. Then we are having our Sherwood Huntress and the Harassing Ruffians, for example. They would cross each other and switch places. And in between they would be fighting. So when they are passing each other. Even though maybe, for example, we would have shoot with our Sherwood Huntress beforehand, we shoot on the Harassing Ruffians, it has 2 damage, and then we play Joust, and then both die. But we don't need to have our Sherwood Huntress untapped to Joust to move the Sherwood Huntress. Also, another example here is the card Duel. It also lets us move one of our minions. In this example here, if I cast Duel and I choose my Sherwood Huntress to fight with an adjacent unit, in this case the Harassing Ruffians, I could also take out the Harassing Ruffians with that, if I've shot it before. So, something to note with ranged units specifically with the Sherwood Huntress, the ranged is a tap ability. So if I want to attack ranged, I need to tap my Sherwood Huntress and it shoots on the Harassing Ruffians. I cannot move my Sherwood Huntress, I need to tap it and then shoot. That is not possible because ranged is specifically a tapped ability. And there are some cards that are not tapped abilities, just like the Siege Giant, which also lets us move one of our minions, because this is pretty funny. Siege Giant, for example, if let us for a second assume the Siege Giant is here, I move the Siege Giant to here, I tap it, so then I can just then I can just activate the ability of Siege Giant. It says once per turn, Siege Giant may throw a weaker ally here through the air to a nearby location. So that just means that I could throw the Sherwood Huntress, even though we moved the Siege Giant, and throw it to here, or to here. Pretty awesome. So let us move forward. Another thing that you need to know when playing sorcery is how to intercept. That is also something very important. And there are cards, I didn't know about intercept actually until I read this card. It's called the Lumbering Giant. Lumbering Giant just says it can't defend or intercept. And that basically means when you move and you pass a side where an enemy is, you basically have to worry about intercepting, because in this example here we have Sir Yvain and Divine Cursor, so I can move 2 with these, and let's just assume I want to attack the Archimago. We have Sir Agravain here, he is stealth, so I can't attack with Sir Yvain here. But I could say, okay, you know what? I want to move to the Archimago. So Sir Agravain can then choose to let go of his stealth and intercept. And then we would need to fight with Sir Agravain here instead of going to the Archimago. That is pretty important to know, because it is so important where you place your units, so you make sure you can intercept your opponent, or you move around them so they can't intercept you. That's why also Void Walk, for example, is such an amazing ability. And yeah, in Arthurian Legends particularly, there are not that many Void Walk cards. At least I didn't see that many in my sealed events yet. Let's talk also about untapping for a second, because when we are coming into the fighting and the defending stage of the game, tapping and untapping or untapped cards are pretty important. So we have an example here with Sir Jaehaerys. He has a lance when he's summoned, but also he says untaps at the end of your turn. So that is pretty amazing, because you can basically move Sir Jaehaerys and then he untaps at the end, and you are basically able to defend with him, even though, yeah, he was untapped, he was tapped beforehand. That is a very important thing in sorcery, because you want to be able to, yeah, block with your minions. For example, if I would go with Sir Peleus all the way here, I would be able to attack the Archimago in the next turn, though my opponent in this case has a lot of minions nearby or adjacent to his Archimago. So he would be just be able, if I want to attack with Sir Peleus on the Archimago, to come in with Sir Jaehaerys, for example, and defend the attack. In that case, my opponent chooses whether both of them are taking place in the fight. He could also just choose to only fight with Sir Jaehaerys and then take out the Archimago. That would also result in the Archimago not making any damage on Sir Jaehaerys, but in this example on Sir Peleus, but the Jaehaerys would take out the Peleus. So we have talked about a lot. Let me know in the comments if it already helped you, but I have a few more things in the end here. I have a few spells that I want to talk about, exactly these ones here. Because there are a lot of units that have stealth in Arthurian Legends. And what that basically means is that in this example, Sir Yvain can't target Sir Agravain for an attack because he can't see him. He has stealth. Sir Agravain, on the other hand, could decide to let go of his stealth and attack Sir Yvain, or could let go of his stealth and then defend the harassing Ruffians if he'd like to. There are also other ways how you can take out a minion with stealth though, and one example is the magic missiles, because the magic missiles, also coming back to the location thing, says shoot 3 projectiles in the same direction, one at a time. Each deals 1 damage if it hits something. So if I would shoot the projectiles, it would even deal damage to Sir Agravain, even though he has stealth, because he is at that location and the magic missiles does not target. So he just takes the damage even though he has stealth. Another example though is the arc lightning, and that specifically says deal 4 damage to target nearby unit. Even though we could target the Red Priest Warban, for example, that one doesn't have stealth, but Sir Agravain is untargetable, so arc lightning would deal no damage to him. Then we have another example, the Burning Hands, and that even has a map here on the card that specifically lies out where the damage is dealt, and it also says it can not only be cast by a spellcaster but also by any mortal. In difference with magic missiles and arc lightning, those can only be cast by spellcasters because they don't say otherwise. And when we read Burning Hands, it also says maybe cast by an ally mortal, choose 2 different cardinal directions. So you choose it like this. So I would say, okay, I choose this location and this location. And yeah, then it deals damage to each unit at locations in the area of effect. So in that case also, Burning Hands doesn't target, so Sir Agravain would be dealt 2 damage with Burning Hands. That is also why, yeah, these disruption spells and these removement spells are so important in Arthurian Legends. All right, we have talked about a lot. That is all for today, but definitely let me know if this helped you. If you have any other questions, maybe you can comment them down below. If you can answer some other things in the comments below, I would be happy too. And also, if you would leave a like on the video, because that will make me not only smile, but also find it a little bit easier for YouTube to recommend these videos to other Sorcery TCG players. So, I hope you found it helpful. See you in the next video.